Hello Year 11 and welcome to the first of many revision sessions on the Crucible, Mr. Pip and the language exam which you have coming up. To start with, I'm going to talk about the Crucible and in particular Arthur Miller's use of language, which is something we've discussed in class, but I want to go into it in a bit more detail now. The way these sessions are going to work is that I'm going to give you probably a 3 to 5 minute catch-up session, if you will, with some tips and hints for the exam. Without further ado, I'm going to start. The thing you need to think about with Arthur Miller's language is really that when you watch when you watch the Crucible, it looks very real. The language he uses is quite genuine, and your key word for this is veracity. So when you watch the Crucible on stage, or when you're reading it, there's a real veracity to the performance. Veracity means truthfulness, genuineness. What you see looks real. The emotions that are shown on stage look real as well, and you can't help but get caught up in that story. And Arthur Miller himself has said, if you know that story, then you can't help but be captivated by it, be captured by it. And I think that's very, very true. So with that, you need to have a couple of examples of how that language is very truthful. You need to know how there is veracity to the dialogue and the language itself. So here are two examples. The first, Elizabeth Proctor gets very carried away with the idea that Abigail wants to get her charged with witchcraft, and she utters the words, or probably shouts the words, she should be ripped from the world. She must be ripped from the world. Now, ripped is a very, very passionate and emotive phrase. If you rip something, you're not even tearing it. You're not trying to damage it. You're destroying it. She should be ripped from the world. It's a very violent and very desperate term, effectively. Now you can use that to emphasise how Miller's language is very, very intense and very, very genuine, because, as we've said before, the emotion Elizabeth feels at that point is very, very genuine as well. So, another example for you. Early on in the play, in Act 1, Abigail Williams comes out with this absolute cracker of a phrase to John Proctor, and she says, I remember how you clutched at my back and sweated like a stallion behind your house. The one word I want to focus on here is clutched. When you clutch at something, it's a desperate act. You can't help but do it, it's instinctive. And so Miller was saying that Abigail understood that Proctor wanted her and needed her, and it was a real intense need. It wasn't just something he chose to do. And I think the fact that she uses clutched really emphasises her manipulative nature, that she's trying to sort of seduce John back, but also the strength of her feelings. So once again, you've got this whole veracity thing going on. It's genuine. Her love or lust for him is very genuine. And that's something which happens throughout the whole play that we see. It's a very, very intense and very fraught portrayal of human nature. Now, rather than saying human nature, you could maybe use the phrase humanity. It shows a full spectrum of humanity in terms of kind actions, going all the way through to cruel and bitter actions as well. And that's another reason that Arthur Miller really is a very genuine playwright, because there's true feeling in everything that he says, and he doesn't just portray superficial or positive aspects of human life, positive aspects of humanity. It's everything from the very, very positive through to the very, very negative and unpleasant. So that's the first instalment of many. Each of these videos is going to have a slightly different focus, if you will. Each one is always going to have a key word that you can build your revision around. So I won't do this as many times in the next few, but just to make sure it's there. Veracity. Thank you.